Morning, everybody. This is Monday, October 7th. It's actually noon. Hope everybody got a chance to listen to the first episode to see what we're going to be talking about. I have a couple messages out to people. We're setting up a few things to get some experts in here to talk about, their perspectives on certain things. So, however, today I wanted to talk specifically about my thoughts on stretching, whether that be static stretching or dynamic stretching. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay. We're going to go into that. We're going to talk about when you should be stretching, when you shouldn't, what is actually happening when we stretch, who should be stretching, what types of stretching should we do, and how long should we be doing stretches if we do stretch. I know this is something it's highly debatable. You hear a lot about it. Some physical therapy clinics will stretch people passively. There's, I guess, benefits to that and drawbacks to that. But let's get into it here. When should we be stretching and when shouldn't we? Um, and there's going to be different answers depending on who you are and what you're kind of dealing with. But just speaking generally, in my opinion, based on clinical research, peer-reviewed research, everyday people don't necessarily need to stretch. But if it's the only movement that you're getting throughout the day, I think it can be very helpful. Um, some people say you have a really sedentary job. Maybe you're sitting at a desk all day, or maybe you're the opposite and you are someone who works a very physical job. To me, either of those cases, it's okay to do some stretches throughout the day. I don't think you need to be aggressive. I don't think you need to be like stretching yourself through this excruciating amount of pain. I don't think that you need to sit there and hold it for 5 minutes or anything crazy. The key in that situation is going to be what areas are you feeling a lot of tightness? Because a lot of times people are stretching because they're either having pain or tightness. And so the question is, what can we do to relieve that or to prevent that from happening? And my answer would be that you need to probably be doing movements throughout the day that will help build some variation of movement into your day. And what I mean by that is, say you're someone who's sitting a lot. You're not moving a lot through the hips, you're not moving a lot through the knees. Your shoulders are kind of in the same position a lot of the times throughout the day, every day, right? So, what can we do to help um, move better, prevent chronic pain and illness? I say get up and move around. If you're not moving a lot through the shoulders throughout your workday, get up and move your shoulders. You might do some arm circles. You might do some shoulder blade squeezes. You might move your head around back and forth. You might get up and do some squats or something, if your legs are feeling stiff. Now, there's nothing wrong with doing stretches, like I said. It helps you to go through that range of motion at the affected joints, sort of the area that you're trying to work through. It helps um, the body to see, okay, well, I need to make sure that I'm able to move through this range of motion. It prevents you from getting uh, a lot of chronic issues if you're moving through those range of motions throughout the day. You don't necessarily need to sit there and hold for 30 seconds, 2 minutes, anything like that. It's just get up, move around once every couple of hours. If you are someone who is working a more high intensity job, a more physical job, you are probably someone who might benefit from doing like some range of motion things. So, a lot of things, a lot of people who are in factories or working in welding or things like that, where you're down in the same position a lot of the times, doing some toe touches can be helpful. Where you just go down, touch your toes, come back up, go down, touch your toes, come back up. You might do 10 of those. You might do 15 of those. You might do some arm circles, some trunk rotations where you're just kind of going back and forth. Um, if you're not if you're not doing watching the video and you're just listening to the podcast, I am trying to go through them, just a kind of brief demonstration. So if you want to see what I'm doing, I'm really just doing them in my chair. So there's really nothing crazy you're missing out on. But um, If you have any questions, you can always reach out about what exercises I'm talking about here, or you can always Google it because these are all fairly basic movements and exercises. So, um, to get a little bit more niche, athletes should be doing dynamic stretching before they work out, which is more like an active stretch. They're not going to be sitting there holding that for 30 seconds. They're not going to be sitting there holding that for 2 minutes before you compete. You're not doing these static stretches before you compete because research actually shows that you're increasing your risk of injuries. You're going to increase your risk of getting hurt, and you're actually decreasing the amount of force you can produce by doing static stretching. Because what it's doing is it's actually causing your nerves and muscles to relax. We don't want to relax if we're going to be asking a lot from those structures, right? We want to get them primed and ready to go. We need the nerves to be firing. We need the muscles to have blood flowing through them. Um, and so doing more dynamic, more active stretching, like high knees, butt kicks, jogging, all of those types of things, walking lunges, all of that stuff that you've probably done in practice, you should be doing before you compete. And if you're doing sitting hamstring stretches before you compete, you're actually increasing your risk of having cramps. So if you want to do those static stretches, those are things you can do after you're done competing. Once you're ready to relax those muscles, um, that's if it feels good to you. I don't know that it has any sort of benefit other than the benefits that you get just from having a generic cool down anyway. So if you're going to static stretch, do it after you compete, not before. Um, an important thing to note here is if you're having a chronic sort of tightness of a muscle group, this is very common in the hamstrings, also the lower back and in the shoulder muscles. Also, that's can be a neurogenic tightness, which is and this actually happens a lot after car accidents too. But this is something that you don't want to aggressively stretch, but chances are if you have this hypertonic or this super tight area, doing range of motion exercises like shoulder squeezes or you're doing some shrugs, if it's your lower back, doing the toe touches we talked about, or other strength exercises will actually help those muscles to relax. I know it sounds counterintuitive. You think that if it feels tight, it is tight, but that's actually not necessarily the case. A lot of times you have people who have a lot of perceived tightness up in here, but you actually check their range of motion, and their range of motion is normal on both sides. And so when they're stretching, they're actually fighting against their body. If you do strength exercise and get the blood flowing and get the nerves to relax, that's going to help. In this neurogenic tightness, you can actually hurt yourself by overly aggressively stretching. And so if you're not sure what kind of tightness you're dealing with, I recommend going to see your doctor or your physical therapist to help determine what the cause of your tightness is. Um, so what is actually happening when we're stretching? Are we actually stretching the muscles and making them longer? Well, I would say unless you're doing a prolonged stretch periodically throughout the day, and when I say that, I mean anywhere from 2 to 3 minute long stretches that you're doing 4 to 5 times a day, you are probably not actually making muscles longer. You are, if you're stretching for maybe 5 to 10 seconds, anywhere up to 30 seconds, those types of things, if you're doing that throughout the day, here and there, but not necessarily holding them for prolonged periods of time, um, you're probably not actually lengthening any muscles because generally speaking, that tightness, it comes back, right? Most of the people who do these types of stretches can attest to this, that it feels better temporarily, but then you give it 10 minutes and it comes right back, right? So we're not actually making it any longer. Most of the time when we're doing stretching, we're actually just improving our tolerance to that range of motion periodically. However, it's generally speaking not going to last through any long periods of time. Um, so who should be stretching? So if you actually do have shortened muscle tissues, say you're someone who sits all the time, you've been doing it for 30 years, and you sit 8 hours a day, and you really don't get up much. If you'd actually, now you might have shortened like hip flexors in that situation, the muscles in the front of the hips there, because if you think about it, when you're sitting, your trunk is upright and your hips are out, and like your femurs, your leg bones are out in front of you. And so those muscles that help you like march your legs up, those are your hip flexors. They're probably going to feel a little tight. They might actually be tight. Um, and so that can actually lead to back pain because those hip flexors, what's called your iliopsoas muscles, specifically your psoas muscles, do attach to your lumbar spine, but through the front of your body. It's very interesting. Look it up on Google. But yeah, they actually attach to the front of your lower back, and they can actually cause back pain and tightness. And so in those types of situations, doing 2 to 3 minute long stretches of the hip flexors can be effective at helping with back pain. And so, but you're going to want to do that repeatedly, right? And keep in mind, I'm not giving you medical advice. This is general advice. If you have questions specifically regarding your own issues, I recommend getting into a physical therapist to figure out, what is actually going on, and preferably a progressive physical therapy clinic. Um, uh, Shameless plug here, back on track. Physical therapy, I actually started in 2017. And so what we do is we want to make sure that it's an actual tightness, not a perceived tightness. We're not going to just sit there and stretch on structures that aren't actually tight just because they feel tight. We need to figure out why it feels tight, if it actually is tight, and if it's a strength issue, if it's a range of motion issue, maybe you just need to exercise regularly. And so, we got to get to the heart of what's causing that, rather than just aggressively stretching. However, if you do have a sedentary job, you do need to be moving frequently throughout the day, like we talked about. So who should be stretching? It's hard to say. Everyone should be moving throughout the day. If you have a really busy physical job, you need to actually try to build more rest periods into your day. And if you can't, because you have a high uh, intensity job that you don't get a lot of breaks, perhaps what you need to do is try to rest more when you get home. So what types of stretching should we do? I think we talked about this a little bit. Everyone should be moving through a wide range of motion every single day throughout all of our joints to the best of our ability, right? So if we're sitting a lot, trying to move through your back, through your hips, through your knees, through your neck, just moving through the range of motion, move them all the way around, as far as you can, as often as you can. I know it might look funny, but this is something we need to start getting into because we really have a problem in our society that um, we have chronic issues from our sitting at a computer, sitting at a desk, and it's just going to continually get worse unless we make a huge effort and we get this message out to people. It's just going to be a huge strain on our society unless we do something about it. So, how long should we hold stretches? So, if you just want to feel that brief, that quick relief, anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes is probably going to be okay as long as you're not overly aggressive, because like we said, we don't know if it's a neurogenic tightness or an actual tightness. So don't be overly aggressive. Just feel the stretch. If it feels good, that's okay. Just realize that unless you address the real issue, it's going to probably come back. But sometimes, you just need that quick relief. You're like, I've just been feeling this all day. I really just I want to feel a little better just right now. So that stretch can be good. A little light massage can feel good. But generally speaking, moving throughout that range of motion is going to really help trying to get some moderate intensity exercise in throughout the day if you can. It's going to take you a lot further than just doing those brief stretches. Um, Now, if you have been to a healthcare provider and they have said that yes, you do actually have really tight hamstrings, because your knees are bent all the time. You sit in the truck, you're sitting at a desk, you have very tight hamstrings. Doing some type of long held 2 to 3 minute stretch throughout the day is going to be effective at increasing the muscle length. The mechanism through which the muscle, through that, let me start over. The actual physiological mechanism through which you're able to have improved flexibility is not well known. I think there is some research that suggests that you are actually increasing the elasticity. You're increasing the length of the muscle, but there are also studies that are saying that you're just increasing or improving the tolerance to stretch, and that the structures aren't actually changing, but you're relaxing the nerves, and they're allowing your body to move through a more wide range of motion. So, but that's kind of nitpicky because what you really care about is, am I able to move better? And so hopefully that answers some questions. My personal opinion, I think people overstretch, particularly athletes. They think that stretching is going to do all these great things for them, and at the end of the day, it's not making a huge difference. Um, and so I think strength training and range of motion training, so just moving throughout the range of motion, is going to do you way more, no matter where you are in the spectrum between not very active and highly active individuals. So if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can shoot us a text message at 567-356-4385. Just let me know that you heard the podcast and you had some questions. Otherwise, you can send me an email at Cameron@backontracktherapy.com. If you're in the Lima area and you want to get in to see a physical therapist, you can call that same number, 567-356-4385, and we'd love to have you come in and get evaluated, and see what we can do to help you. So hopefully that answers some questions. And next week we will hopefully have a guest on, but we're just going to keep plugging away and trying to get this information out there. Feel free to share this with people who you think might benefit. I mean, really, I think everyone can benefit from this information. So I'll try to keep these brief and concise, and hopefully it's helping some people out there. So once again, this is Cameron Dennis, my physical therapist with Back on Track Therapy and Wellness, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.